Today I want to talk to you about why you should strongly reconsider rebranding your business. Now, at the beginning of this year, I went through a major rebrand and my business has grown. So today I wanted to show you a behind the scenes look into my brand strategy. And I'm betting that by the end of this video, you're going to be able to look at your own business in a whole new light that can not only make you more profitable, but also help you better serve your clients. Now, there's thousands or hundreds or whatever of brand strategies out there that you could go with, but the brand strategy that I decided to implement into my business is the Storybrand framework. And I've talked about this in the past, you may remember. But since implementing this framework, I've not only increased my rates, but I've actually stopped discounting my services altogether. I've hired another photographer and I've increased my revenue, all while making a better experience for my clients. So today I want to show you how I did this, but let me first give you a little bit of a backstory. Now, I've had my business since 2011 and also my website, and basically the way I operated was the same as nearly every other real estate photographer in the world. But I wanted to do something a little bit different that was both more fulfilling for me and one that was actually better serving people instead of me just taking their money to go photograph their home. Now, I followed the author and creator of the Storybrand concept, Donald Miller, for years. And I heard of his framework, but I never actually looked into it until he released his books, Building a Storybrand. So I ate this up immediately and I implemented it into my business. Started late last year, finally launched at the beginning of this year. But by nature, I'm not a note taker or an overachiever by any means, but I took rigorous notes on this book. They also, in the book, give you a website that you can follow along with and fill out your framework or your story as you go along, and I actually did that as well. And as soon as I was done with this book, I got to work on my website and I haven't looked back. Now, what the Storybrand framework is, in a nutshell, is essentially taking all of the elements of storytelling that have been perfected by humanity throughout history and applying them to a business. Now, one thing you're going to hear often when using the Storybrand concept or listening to it is it's going to help you clarify your message. And that's spot on. So anyway, with all that said, let's get into it. Now, here's the Storybrand framework in a nutshell. A character has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action and helps them avoid a failure and ends in success. All right, you got that? All right, so let me break this down for you quickly. And then I'm going to show you how I was able to implement this framework into my real estate business. Now, that paragraph that I just shared a second ago it's actually broken up into 7 parts, and that's the Storybrand framework. So let's break this down. The first thing I said was a character. Okay, so this is the first step in the process. Now, obviously, every story has a character, but the problem is that in our businesses, we tend to think that we're the focus of our business. For example, our about sections or our bios, they talk all about us and not at all about the customer. The customer, or in the case of real estate photography, the realtor, is the hero of the story. It's not us. So we're actually the guide of the story, which I'm going to get into in a minute. Now, the second part has a problem. So a character has a problem. So in an effective story, the main character or the hero of the story is met with a problem, something that interrupts their life one way or another. Now, if we translate this in the case of real estate photography, we need to basically determine what sort of problems that the realtors we work with face and determine how our business can help them address that problem. Part 3 is and meets a guide. So a character has a problem and meets a guide. In storytelling, there's a guide that helps the hero along in the journey. So think Yoda and Luke, or The Matrix, one of my favorite movies, Neo and Morpheus. So the guide gives the hero a plan, which is actually part 4 of the framework. So if we translate this into real estate photography, a realtor has a problem and meets a photographer who is going to help them solve this problem. Is this making sense so far? I know it's confusing and it's quite a bit, so just try to stick along and hopefully it'll all make sense later on. Part 5 is and calls them to action. So in The Matrix, Morpheus invites Neo to take a pill and go into the real world. This was the call to action for Neo, is to take the pill. In our case, it means we're simply giving them a call to action, which will help them get to the next step in their journey. So for us, that might mean something as simple as scheduling a photo shoot, because in the story framework, scheduling a photo shoot with you means bringing them one step closer to solving their problem that you defined earlier. Part 6 is that helps them avoid failure. Now, in the case of the Matrix, if Neo doesn't take the pill, he's not going to be able to save the world, right? Same thing in our business. If the realtor doesn't work with you, this will happen. They're going to miss out on this. So it's kind of hard to explain in my own words. So I took a quote from the book, and he basically says, if there's nothing at stake for whether or not they buy your product, they aren't going to buy it. In other words, what they're going to miss out on by not doing business with you. If they do business with you, it will end in success, which is part 7 of the framework. So it's essentially the happy ending of the story. When a realtor uses your services, their problems will be solved. All right, so I know that was a lot of information, and believe me, it's very compressed, very condensed, and it may not be making sense. So what I want to do now is actually bring you into, show you my framework and what I put together and how I apply that to my own real estate photography business. And maybe it'll make a little bit more sense now. By the way, if you want to check out the book, the Storybrand book, there is a link down in the description. I think I'll get a quarter if you click on that link and buy the book, okay? So I'm not here to make a bunch of money. This just really worked for me, okay? Now, before I share this with you, I want to mention one thing. As I was making this website, I also made a survey that I sent out to my clients. The questions were pretty general, like what's your biggest challenge, or what do you want most out of your business? Now, I think there were about 9 questions in all. But the responses I received from that survey were pretty unanimous, and that was that their biggest challenge was in both marketing, as well as not having enough time in the day to whatever, be with their family, grow their business, whatever. So the biggest want was, for all of them unanimously, was to be successful and to have more freedom. Now, I knew these things already, but I wanted to be sure that I had confirmation, so that's where the survey really came into play. Once I had those results, I was able to implement those into my framework. So all that said, now I'm going to show you my Storybrand framework and how I was able to implement that into my website. Now, please keep in mind, this is just my real estate photography business, and I'm currently taking the same approach with my design photography business, which is right now, it's basically at the very beginning stages as I'm actually building that framework. And I'm not ready to show that just yet. Once I get there, I will though. So I'll definitely keep you posted as I go along, but the second thing I want you to keep in mind is I would highly suggest you not copy my framework to a T. You can reference it, but I would suggest not copying it because you want it to be original to you. You really need to do this framework for your own business and kind of see where it leads you to go. So I'll explain my thoughts on how I got to where I am as you walk through my framework. So with that said, take a look. All right, so as mentioned, I wanted to bring you onto my website and show you how I was able to implement the Storybrand framework into my business. So first thing I wanted to show you is the actual Storybrand framework itself and the website that they give you that you can follow along with throughout the book as you read it. That helps you, I guess, write out your entire brand script, which brand script is the essentially the blueprint for your brand strategy. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the brand script, and then after this I will show you my website and how I implemented all of this. So follow along if you can. All right, so first thing is when you look at this website, you'll notice all of the elements of the Storybrand are in here. A character has a problem and meets a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to action, helps them avoid a failure, and ends in success. Okay, so essentially what you're doing after you read each chapter, it will have you go to this brand script page and fill out that particular information. So after you read the section on a character, it'll ask you, okay, based on everything that we talked about in this chapter, go to this section and fill out to the best you can what it means to be or what the character is in your particular brand. Okay, in my case, I wrote they want to spend time on important. Obviously, the character is the realtor. They want to spend time on important things: work-life balance, keeping customers loyal and happy, achieving financial freedom, and build a great brand and reputation. Right? Because they need all these things in order to get referrals. I mean, because that's ultimately what's going to give them the freedom that they want. Now, keep in mind, I also mentioned that I sent out a survey as I was going through this book to find out what really did matter to my clients. And again, just a reminder, it basically came back. What I put here in this character section is pretty much everything that they came back and told me. Okay. All right, so then the second section has a problem. So the character has a problem. Now, in the has a problem section, there's different points to this that they have you fill out. Every story has some type of villain. It's the conflict that comes into the story that tries to prevent the main character from getting to the end of the story. Okay, so in the case of the realtor, the main villain is time spent marketing, time spent dealing with other agents, and it's all to make sure the customer is happy, because if their customer is happy, that leads to referrals, which leads to financial freedom, etc. Okay. Now, in terms of problem, there's 3 types of problems that the book outlines. There's external problems, internal problems, and philosophical problems, okay? And the book helps you identify what those things might be for your particular client, okay? So, in my case, I wrote that the external problem is the time spent dealing with the villain is robbing them from their work-life balance and causes prioritization issues, okay? Internal problem is they're unable to manage work-life balance. It's like their customers won't be happy, so they invest all of their time into their customers or their clients, and they also want to make sure that they don't become irrelevant. So a lot of the agents struggle with whether or not to use professional photography in the first place. They want to because it keeps them modern and up to date, but it's a big expense. But they do it some of them do it out of fear of missing out, essentially. Okay. Then there's the philosophical problem. And this is kind of their internal dialogue. I shouldn't have to sacrifice my time and compensation in order to create the business and life that I desire, right? And you and I can kind of say the same thing. Like, we don't want to work ourselves to death. We want to build a business that works for us, not one that we just have to constantly give every piece of our time and soul and energy to build, right? So that's kind of the has a problem section in a nutshell, okay? That's what I whittle it down to. The next section, and meets a guide. The guide is you, your business. In my case, it's me, obviously. Now, the guide, the role of the guide is to give empathy to the hero or the character in the story, as well as be an authority figure, right? So back to my introduction, I talked about Neo and Morpheus, right? And Morpheus is the guide to Neo, right? So in terms of empathy, I wrote... and this is me talking with my clients in terms of like me trying to empathize with them, letting them know that I understand what they're going through. So I wrote, you deal with difficult situations and people daily. You are dependent on other people's time, which takes away from your incredibly valuable personal time. You spend time marketing and trying different things to grow your business and stay relevant. So this is me acknowledging that I understand their business. I understand who they are. I understand what they're going through. Now, in terms of the authority, I wrote, we are your secret weapon, your marketing partner. We have documented over 1,000 homes in the area and have the right resources to market your listing. We save you time by handling the marketing of your listing. You just have to place the order and we take care of the rest. So I'm basically telling them that, hey, you don't have anything to worry about. You have enough on your plate. You do what you're good at doing. Place an order with us and we'll take care of everything you need. You don't have to spend your time going and taking the photos and editing them and measuring the rooms if that's what you want to do. We do everything for you, okay? The next section is who gives them a plan. So the guide gives them a plan, all right? Now, initially, in the book, they recommend doing 3 things, I believe. But for me, I had a 4-step process. And actually, I need to update this because not too long ago, I changed it to a 3-step process. But essentially, it's a section in your website that tells them how easy it is to do business with you. And in my case, I had 4 different steps. Identify your approach, select your tools, provide insight, and schedule your shoot. Okay? Now, this is fancy language. I tried to use storytelling type language to fit with the theme of what I was going for on my website. You'll see it shortly. But identify your approach as more, how do you want to market this property? Okay, like is this a lower end property? Do you even need photography for it? Do you need a video for it? Do you need floor plans for it, etc.? Okay? And then select your tools. Let's select the things that you want, the services you want me to provide for. Now, provide insight. Now, this is originally, again, I've changed this since then, but originally the intention was tell us what stands out about this property that you're trying to convey to the public. And then number 4 was schedule your shoot. Simple as that. And there's an ordering system on my website you'll see, which is actually pretty cool. The next thing is the agreement. You want to, after you give them the plan, you want to gain agreement with them. You want to make sure that they understand that if they follow through with your plan, it's kind of like a promise. It's your brand promise almost, okay? In my case, I wrote, if you follow the plan and still lose the listing, you'll get your money back. Okay, do not do this. Okay, this was my initial thought. I have not changed this since then. I do need to update that. I do not suggest doing that route. This was an experiment. I never went back and changed it. My agreement more now is if you follow the plan and you stick to it, I will help you see the way to market this property to where it will sell for you. Now, am I going to be able to help them sell every single property? No, I'm not. But I'm going to do everything that I can that's within my power to do so. I'm going to make the best possible video. If they didn't order a certain service, I'm going to make that recommendation for them that, hey, for this property, you need a video. I'm going to, and I'll get into this later, but I'm going to spend extra time, half hour to an hour a week if they need it, just to talk to them about their marketing plan. So that's the agreement that I'm setting up with my clients. And I need to update this. I haven't done it. Probably I shouldn't have made this video until I update that, but oh well, you get the point, all right? All right, so, and calls them to action. Now this is very simple. It's a direct call to action. My call to action for them is schedule now. Now, he goes into great detail in this call to action section. A lot of people will put contact us or see more or read more. Something kind of vague. It's not a direct call to action. It doesn't actually prompt them to take some kind of action that is the next step in scheduling with you, okay? So it needs to be a direct phrase, 2 words, 3 words, something short and to the point that is very clear as to what you want them to do. Now this transitional part, I actually haven't gotten into this. This is more meant for lead generation. So I don't really collect email addresses because I already have the email address of every realtor in my area. Okay, so my idea was that I was going to create a new lead generator to where I have people voluntarily give me their email addresses instead of me getting their email addresses from the mailing list. Okay, because if they can voluntarily give you their email address, it means they'll be more likely to read the emails you actually send out. I still need to do this. I want to be honest with you. I have not done this yet, but I am going to give them either a free Facebook guide, a free Instagram guide, or a free home prep checklist. The idea is you give them something of value. That's maybe a one-page document, something to help them, and you give them that in exchange for their email address. Okay. All right. So the next section is that helps them avoid failure. This is basically what will happen if they don't work with you, okay? And you have to believe this, okay? So in my case, they're going to fear not getting business. They're going to lose compensation by taking just 4% commission just in order to get the listing. They're going to lose their time. They're going to focus any energy on the things that they're not an expert in, like taking photos, which is going to take away from their time. So if we reverse that, what I'm essentially saying is if you work with me, I'm going to help you get to the point where you no longer have to only take 4% just to get the listing. I'm going to help you build your brand to where you can demand 6%. And I'm going to help you save time by going and taking the photos for you. If you need me to do room measurements for you, I will do that for you. That is not your expertise. Let me help you get there, okay? Now, the last part is that ends in a success. This is the happy ending. What happens if they do work with you, okay? So they're going to have a newfound passion in their career. They're not going to be sacrificing time and compensation anymore. They're not going to have to settle for undesirable clientele. I'm going to actually help them market to the people that they want to work with. And they're going to unapologetically earn their true value. And they're also going to become the desired person to work with, okay? Now, it's hard. It sounds like it might be hard to make this promise to every person I work with. But the thing I found is in the people that I have worked with, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, every one of them is so unique that I can still walk them through this entire Storybrand script to help them get to that place in their business and help them with their brand. There's been a handful of agents that I've worked with who have taken me up on this, and a couple of them are really going for it. There's one group of agents in particular that's gone all out with it. They've pretty much done everything. There's a couple others that have taken some of the advice and put it into play. And there's others that I'm still working on. But now before I get into my website, let me kind of explain where I'm at. And I'm going to explain my business model a little bit to you because it'll help make sense of the website, all right? So yes, by nature, I am a real estate photographer. Okay, that's what I do. And since 2011, when I started my business, people have been hiring me to come photograph their homes and take videos of their homes and do all this other stuff. However, one of my strengths is business and marketing. I can translate my business experience into pretty much any profession. And it's more about marketing. It's not so much about the administrative side of business. It's more about the marketing end and the branding end. That's where my strength is. So, and I also enjoy talking about it, which is why I'm making this vlog. As you can see, I don't have a ton of subscribers. I'm not making any money off of this vlog. It's just something I wanted to do because I'm passionate about helping people with their business. Now, I wanted to figure out a way that I could build that into my business instead of them just hiring me to come, take photos of their listings. I wanted to add more value than that. Okay. So when I show you my website, you may be surprised at what you see. Reminding you again, this is a real estate photography business. So my business is working with realtors and photographing homes. You're going to be very surprised at what you see on my website. Okay. Now I'm going to bring you there and I'm going to show you how it relates back to this brand script. All right. Now, the one thing right off the bat you are not going to see on my website is photos of houses. I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but it's all about knowing your client and sticking with your brand script. My job as a real estate photographer is not to sell them the value of my photography. It's to sell them the value of working with me, okay? It is to sell them the fact that I will save them time. I'm going to make their life easier. I'm going to help strengthen their brand. I'm a much more valuable resource to them than just a photographer. So you'll see photos of me. It's not supposed to be about me, but you're going to see photos of me because what I'm trying to do, and I'll go through the verbiage later, but what I'm trying to do with my website is show them how I'm helping them. It's not to communicate like I'm showing my iPad and my camera with my trigger here. This is just to communicate that I'm a professional. I am a photographer. I'm doing this for you. You're not doing this, okay? Showing that I'm using the right technology to pull this off. Next step is me actually meeting with some of my clients. This is an actual meeting. This is me talking about, and you can even see the brand script outline here in the background. I'm walking them through that, and we're talking about their story and what they want to communicate. Next photo is an actual house photo, and that's because I have not updated this yet. This is supposed to be a different photo, so I'm going to skip that. This section is just a testimonial. This is one of the agents. This is actually the first agent I ever worked with, Andrew, and he talks about how I've worked with him since the beginning. This is my studio that I'm sitting in right now. This is one of the other agents that I work with. He's making a video for his Facebook channel or Facebook page, and so I provide this as well. And that's my website, okay? Now, another thing you're going to notice is there are no menus. I don't have an about section, a home section, a contact section. I don't have a portfolio section. I don't have a frequently asked questions section. All I have is start here. And if you look here, I've got an order and schedule here. You scroll down, order and schedule here. Scroll down, get started on your plan. Scroll down, let's work together, click here. So there's only one option for them to click on the website. Okay, now, in all fairness, if they go all the way down to the bottom, they can see some of these extra menus. Nobody ever goes there, though, okay? When people go to my website, they look... Now, let me rewind. One of the things that they talk about in the Storybrand book is that people don't read websites, they scan websites. So your job is to get their attention within a fraction of a second, and you want to make sure that the verbiage that you're communicating speaks to them and connects with them on a deeper level, okay? Again, we're tying this back to the Storybrand, and this is a story we're telling. So I'm going to walk you through everything I've done here. So focus on your clients, we'll focus on you. This is my overarching message. Focus on what it is that you do best. I'm going to focus on your business. I'm going to help you do that. And I write, just for SEO purposes, real estate photography, videography, marketing strategy designed for realtors to increase compensation and save time. Okay, so this is basically my mission. This is what I'm doing here. So it's very clear what I do, okay? Again, there's no photos of my work because, to be honest with you, they don't care. They don't care what the quality of work is. Some of them might think they do, but the truth is it boils down to your brand, okay? Next section is, they call this above the fold. Now, ideally, you will sell, this is your sell page. Whatever they glance at first, you want to be able to sell them right here. So that's why I have this big orange button here and the start button right here. I only want them to look. The human eye naturally goes in a Z format, a Z pattern, as they're scanning a website. So they see the logo, they see start here. They come down and they see this in the middle of the page, nothing down here, and it kind of redirects them back to here. So they only have a couple options. If they scroll down, this is my second attempt to sell to them, okay? Free up your schedule and focus on the important things in your life and the lives of your clients. It's essentially saying the same exact thing right here. There's just a few more words, okay? And then this is me telling them what they want. This is that guide part where I'm empathizing with them. This is my empathy section, okay? What they want, the best experience for the clients, their desired work and life balance, financial freedom and security, full compensation equal to your value. What's preventing this? Time spent on taxes, blah, 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 blah. You can read it all, okay? We will help you get past these things. Here's my promise to them. Order and schedule here. So that's attempt 2. If they're still not satisfied, bring them down to the next session. And this is what I was talking about. I shortened this into 3 steps. It's only 3 simple steps to work with me. They select their marketing tools, they schedule the best time, and then they enjoy their freedom. It doesn't get much simpler than that. There's some descriptions there, basically just to fill in space. But the idea is to just show them how simple it is to work with me and really highlight what they're going to get out of it. Get started on your plan, okay? If that doesn't even sell them, we're going to show them a testimonial. There should be more testimonials here, but I've only got one so far, from one of their colleagues, okay? We understand your business. Now, this is the last section before I close out the site. We understand you. We understand your business. We aren't just photographers. We're a strategic partner, and we care, okay? Again, I'm basically saying all of the things I'm saying above. It all aligns back with my brand script, but each of these sections is a sell attempt. It's an attempt to get them to stop and click on that button to schedule with me, okay? This is basically my authority section. This is telling them, okay, yes, I know what I'm doing. We photographed over 1,500 homes, 35,000 images published, 350. Like, we know what we're doing. Just click here and schedule, and we'll go from there. Just for fun, I'll show you what I haven't even put the Meet the Team page on there or services. Frequently asked questions. Nobody ever goes here, but if they ever want to, it's there. I do have some images on here. It's my portfolio. There's probably 30 images or so on there, which is too many. Nobody ever goes here. And then I do have a contact us section. People rarely go to this page either, okay? Most of my traffic goes right to the start here button or the, go back to this. Most of my traffic goes to the start here button or this button here. That's where the majority of my traffic is going. So it's a very fast conversion. I've immediately built trust with them. And then it brings them to my order form. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but this continues the process. They can fill out all their information, select their process, whatever. They can go through all this stuff. This is my ordering system. Select the things that they want to do, twilight photos, order. Here's my terms and condition. Yes, I agree to these terms. Late payment policy. Once they hit submit, it's good to go, and the order gets processed, and I go and shoot them and provide them an amazing experience. Quick question. Did you happen to notice my ordering system on my website? Hopefully you were somewhat intrigued by that, because I'd highly recommend implementing it. This has been one of the most powerful tools as it relates to my increase in revenue. I would suggest watching this video. That's going to basically show you the back end of how I built it. And if you're not ready for that just yet, there are some other videos you might find beneficial as it relates to real estate photography business. So you can check out this playlist. Lots of information in there. Now, what I need from you is to ask some questions. Let me know what topics you'd like covered, and I will try my best to answer them. In the meantime, see you next week with a brand new episode.